Hello friends, in this lecture series we are going to discuss Sale of Goods Act 1930। सबसे पहले हमें ये पता होना चाहिए कि ये एक्ट कब फोर्स में आया था। सो दिस एक्ट केम इनटू फोर्स ऑन 1st of July 1930। इससे पहले ये जो लॉ रिलेटिंग टू सेल ऑफ गुड्स है उसके सेक्शन 76 से लेकर सेक्शन 123 तक जो है वो सभी इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट 1872 का पार्ट हुआ करते थे। तो ये जो रूल्स रिलेटिंग टू गुड्स है वो सारे एक अलग करके एक नया एक्ट पास किया गया और नाम दिया गया इंडियन सेल ऑफ गुड्स एक्ट 1930। But after the amendment of 1963, the word Indian was removed, and now the title of the act is the Sale of Goods Act 1930। ये जो सेल ऑफ गुड्स एक्ट है और ये जो पार्टनरशिप एक्ट है ये सभी इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट का ही पार्ट था। लेट अस सी द डेफिनेशन ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ सेल। सेक्शन 4 सब क्लॉज 1 डिफाइंस अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ सेल एज अंडर A contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in the goods to the buyer for a price। यहाँ पे जो गुड वर्ड है ना इसमें इसे हमें ध्यान में रखना होगा। ये जो गुड्स है उसका मीनिंग यहाँ पर सिर्फ मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी ही होगा। तो मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी पे कौन कौन से गुड्स आते हैं वो हम आगे देखेंगे। तो पहले हम इसके एसेंशियल देखते हैं। Let's see the essentials of a contract of sale। तो यहाँ पे फर्स्ट एसेंशियल है there must be two parties, one is seller and another is buyer। then next subject matter of the contract, and subject matter of the contract is good, and another is transfer of ownership, and fourth one is transfer of property in the goods for consideration known as price। चलो तो फिर एक एक करके हम इसको समझते हैं। फर्स्ट एसेंशियल एलिमेंट है देयर मस्ट बी टू पार्टीज। इट इज़ अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बिटवीन टू पार्टीज, वन नोन एज अ सेलर एंड अदर इज बायर। The seller means a person who sells or agrees to sell the goods, and the buyer means a person who buys or agrees to buy the goods। Seller and buyer should be two different persons। Okay. Therefore, if a person purchases his own goods, it is not a sale. However, there may be a contract of sale between one part owner and the another। In case of sale by auction, the act permits the seller of goods to reserve right by auction and purchasing his own goods। Okay. Sometimes a contract may not be entered into by a normal process of negotiation, but under a statutory compulsion। And when the goods are supplied under statutory compulsion, whether that result in sale or not is a question which has been arisen in number of cases। One case we have to discuss here is Andhra Sugar Limited versus State of Andhra Pradesh। It has been held by the Supreme Court that in case of sale under the compulsion of a statute, the consent is not deemed to be caused by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, or mistake। In that case, if any cane grower offered to sell his sugar cane to a factory in a certain zone, then the factory was bound to accept the offer। Okay. Then next essentially is subject matter of the contract। Then basically the subject matter of the contract is good। Section 2 subclause 7 of the act defines the term goods। Good means every kind of movable property other than actionable claim and money, and includes stocks, shares, growing crops, grass, and things to be or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before sale or under a contract of sale। As noted above, the act deals with the sale of goods, that is movable property। As I have already told you, goods here discuss only movable property। The sale of immobile property is dealt with in a Transfer of Property Act 1882। Although the term goods means every kind of movable property, but certain things have been specifically excluded and certain other things specifically included in the term by the definition। There was a question whether water, electricity, and gas form the parts of the good or not. In one case, the Commissioner of Sales Tax Madhya Pradesh versus Madhya Pradesh Electricity Board, the Supreme Court in this case held that although electric energy is not tangible or cannot be touched like piece of woods or book, but it is still a goods and can be transmitted, transferred, stored, or purchased in the same way as any other movable property. However, there is no mention about the water, electricity, and gas in the sale of good acts, but it still form the parts of good. It still form the part of good. Okay, let's see different kinds of goods. Uh, there are some kinds of good: future goods, existing good, specific, and uncertain good. Let's see what is existing good. Existing goods are such goods which are owned or possessed by the seller at the time of making of the contract. For example, when the seller supplies good which is lying in his godown, such sugar will be considered as a existing good. And future good means goods to be manufactured or produced or acquired by the seller after making the contract of sale. मतलब ये जो गुड्स है वो अभी एग्जिस्ट नहीं है. ओके, अभी एग्जिस्ट नहीं करते हैं. आफ्टर मेकिंग ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वो मैन्युफैक्चर होंगे, प्रोड्यूस होंगे और बाद में उसे सेलर एक्वायर करेगा. ये सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बनने के बाद होगा, उसे हम कहते हैं फ्यूचर गुड्स. ओके, अब ये जो एग्जिस्टिंग गुड्स है उसे स्पेसिफिक गुड और अनसर्टेन गुड्स में क्लासीफाई किया है. Specific good means those goods which have been identified and agreed upon at the time of contract of sale. If the exact thing which is the subject matter of the contract is known to the parties, it is known as specific good. For example, A has a number of horses and out of them he sells his white horse to B. The particular horse being identified and agreed upon at the time of the contract, the same is considered to be specific goods. If the goods are not identified and agreed upon at the time of making of the contract, then it is known as uncertain good. For example, uh, B without A having thousands bag of wheat in his godowns, and he sells only 100 bags to B without specifying those which he wants to deliver to B. It is a sale of uncertain goods. Then another essential is transfer of property. Okay, transfer of ownership. In every contract of sale, there is to be transfer of property in the goods from the seller to the buyer. According to sale of goods, property means general property in the goods rather than mere special property. The term general property means ownership, a person having ownership of a particular property, and special property means he only have to have a right to possession of the property or a right to use of that property. Section 4 subclause 3 says if the property is transferred at the time of making of the contract is known as sale. But if the transfer of property in the goods is to take place at a future time or is subject to some condition thereafter to be fulfilled, the contract is then called as agreement to sell. Another essential is money consideration, means it is price. Consideration for the contract of sale has to be price. According to section 2 subclause 10, price means the money consideration for a sale of goods. If the consideration is not in terms of money, then it may be contract rather than that of sale. For example, when the goods are exchanged with goods, then it is not a contract of sale, it is a barter or a exchange. Sometimes there is no consideration for a contract and the transfer is gratuitous, then the transaction will be by way of gift. Let's see the modes of determination of price. As we know, price is an essential element in every contract of sale of goods. There are some modes of determination of price. It may be fixed by the contract itself. Uh, this is the most usual way of fixing the price. When the parties make a contract of sale, they generally make a mention of the price which they has to be paid for the goods. Another is it may be fixed in accordance with the agreed manner. The parties may not themselves fix the price but may leave it to be determined according to manner agreed. For example, It may be agreed that the market price prevailing on the date of the supply of good will be the price of the will be the price to be paid, or the price as determined by the party will be the price of the goods. Okay, it may be determined in accordance with the agreed manner. Okay, it may be determined by the course of dealing between the parties. Okay, so these were the modes of the price, mode of determination of price. so this तो गाइस, अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया हो तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर करें, और हाँ, वीडियो को लाइक करना ना भूलें। लेट्स मीट इन द नेक्स्ट वीडियो।